The text arrived on a Friday afternoon 2 weeks before Christmas, while I was reviewing the final terms of a partnership deal that would expand my company into 3 new markets. Jade, Christmas this year is family only. Claire's in-laws are coming. The Harringtons are very successful people, executives, board members, that level. We think it's better if you sit this one out. Don't want any awkward questions about your situation. You understand. I stared at the screen. My sister Claire, married to Blake Harrington for 6 months. Blake's family, the prestigious Harringtons, old money, corporate power, country club memberships. And me, apparently too much of an embarrassment to be included in family-only Christmas. I typed one word, okay. My chief strategy officer, Michael Torres, noticed my expression. Everything all right, boss? Fine, I said, setting my phone down. Just family stuff. Now about the Harrington Industries partnership. Where are we on the due diligence? Michael consulted his notes. Final meeting Monday. The Harrington team wants to tour our headquarters, meet you personally, review the integration plans. Their CEO, Charles Harrington, is coming himself. He wants to meet the mystery tech genius everyone's talking about. I smiled slowly. Charles Harrington. That's interesting. You know him? Not personally, but I know of his family. Tell me, Michael, does Charles have a son named Blake? Michael pulled up his laptop. Yes, actually. Blake Harrington, junior executive at the family company. Recently married. Why? Blake married my sister 6 months ago, I said. The family that's too elite for me to be around at Christmas. Michael's eyes widened. Oh, this is going to be spectacular. This is going to be a business meeting, I corrected. Professional, courteous, by the book. The fact that they're my sister's in-laws is irrelevant to whether the partnership makes strategic sense. But you're going to tell them, right? That you're Claire's sister. I'm going to let them figure it out on their own, I said. If it comes up, it comes up. If not, well, we'll have a lovely business relationship and they'll never know they excluded me from family Christmas. You're diabolical, Michael said admiringly. I'm pragmatic, I corrected. Now let's make sure Monday's presentation is flawless. Elite or not, the Harringtons are a major partnership opportunity. Growing up, Claire was the perfect daughter. Beautiful, charming, socially brilliant. She knew which fork to use at formal dinners, how to make conversation with important people, how to present herself as sophisticated and cultured. I was the weird younger sister. Too smart, too intense, too interested in things like coding and artificial intelligence and solving impossible technical problems. Why can't you be more like Claire? Mom would ask constantly. She understands how to navigate society. She knows what matters. What mattered, apparently, was appearance, connections, marrying well. Claire excelled at all of it. She went to a prestigious liberal arts college, studied art history, and worked at a gallery where she met Blake Harrington, heir to Harrington Industries, a diversified conglomerate with interests in manufacturing, technology, and real estate. Their wedding was extravagant. A society event. The Harringtons were old money with new ambitions, and they welcomed Claire into the family as the perfect addition. Beautiful, cultured, exactly the kind of woman who enhanced their image. I went to MIT, studied computer science and artificial intelligence, and spent my nights building machine learning models that I knew would revolutionize supply chain management. At Claire's wedding, I was seated at the back table. Nobody introduced me to the Harringtons. I was just Claire's younger sister. She does something with computers. What my family didn't know, what I'd carefully never told them, was that I'd built one of the most innovative supply chain AI companies in the country. It started with a problem I'd identified during my graduate research. Supply chains were inefficient, unpredictable, vulnerable to disruption. Traditional management systems were reactive, constantly playing catch-up. I built an AI that was predictive, that understood patterns, anticipated disruptions, optimized routing and inventory in real time. That transformed supply chain management from reactive crisis management to proactive optimization. My first client was a struggling logistics company. Within 4 months, their efficiency increased 47%, their costs dropped 34%, and their on-time delivery jumped from 72% to 96%. The industry noticed. I founded SupplyWise AI 3 years ago with $8 million in Series A funding. Last year we raised $45 million in Series B. 3 months ago we closed $150 million in Series C at a $620 million valuation. We employed 632 people across 5 offices. Our AI managed supply chains for over 800 companies, from mid-sized manufacturers to Fortune 500 corporations. This year's revenue would hit $180 million. I owned 59% of the company. My personal net worth was approximately $365 million. Fortune had just featured me on their cover. The AI visionary revolutionizing global supply chains. Forbes named me to their 30 Under 30 in enterprise technology. TechCrunch called me the supply chain oracle. My family thought I worked a generic tech job making maybe $80,000 a year. I kept my two worlds completely separated. When I visited home, which was increasingly rare, I drove a modest Honda Civic I kept specifically for family occasions. I wore casual clothes from normal stores. I lived in what they thought was a small apartment in the city. They'd never visited, so they didn't know it was actually a $5.3 million penthouse with views of the bay, custom furniture, and a home office where I often worked late into the night. At family gatherings I was quiet Jade. Unsuccessful Jade. The sister who never quite figured out her path. At work I was Jade Morrison, CEO of SupplyWise AI. Fortune cover subject. Forbes 30 Under 30. The woman who'd revolutionized how global supply chains operated. I didn't tell my family because they'd made it clear that my path wasn't impressive to them. That Claire's gallery job and marriage to a Harrington were the markers of real success. That my computer work was incomprehensible and therefore unimportant. So I stopped trying to explain. I built my empire in silence while they celebrated Claire's society wedding and impressive in-laws. My investors knew what I'd built. My 632 employees knew. The 800 companies using our AI knew. The supply chain industry knew. My family didn't need to know. The Harrington Industries partnership was significant. They were a $4 billion conglomerate with complex supply chains across multiple industries. Bringing them on as a client would be a major win, but more importantly, integrating our AI deeply into their operations could serve as a proof of concept for other large conglomerates. Michael and I spent the weekend preparing presentation decks, demo scenarios, integration timelines, ROI projections. Everything needed to be perfect. Monday morning I dressed carefully. Tailored gray suit from an Italian designer, silk blouse, modest heels. Professional, polished, radiating quiet authority. Hair pulled back in a sleek bun. Minimal jewelry except for my Patek Philippe watch. I looked exactly like what I was. A CEO who'd built a company worth over $500 million. At 9:45 a.m. my assistant buzzed. Ms. Morrison, the Harrington Industries team is in the lobby. Send them up to conference room A. I'll meet them there in 5 minutes. I gathered my materials and walked through our office. The open floor plan showcased our culture. Engineers collaborating, analysts studying supply chain models, the energy of a company solving important problems. The Fortune magazine with my face on the cover was framed in the lobby. Visitors always noticed it. Today would be no exception. I arrived at conference room A to find my team already there. Michael, our CTO, Lisa Park, our CFO, David Chen. They'd set up the presentation, prepared the demo, laid out the partnership documents. Ready? Michael asked. Always, I said. My assistant opened the door. Ms. Morrison, the Harrington Industries team. 4 people entered. First was a man in his early 30s, Blake Harrington. I recognized him from Claire's wedding photos, though we'd never been properly introduced. Behind him, a woman in her 50s with perfectly styled blonde hair. Blake's mother, presumably. Then 2 older men in expensive suits, senior executives judging by their bearing. And finally Charles Harrington. Late 50s, commanding presence, the confidence of someone who'd built and run a $4 billion company for 25 years. None of them recognized me. Blake had never actually met me. I'd been at the back table at his wedding, never introduced. I was just Claire's forgettable sister who did something with computers. Mr. Harrington, I said, extending my hand. Welcome to SupplyWise AI. I'm Jade Morrison. Charles shook my hand firmly. Ms. Morrison, thank you for meeting with us. Your company's reputation preceded you. Everyone in supply chain management is talking about your AI. We're proud of what we've built, I said. Please have a seat. Can we offer you coffee, water? As they settled around the conference table, I noticed Blake staring at me. A flicker of recognition, confusion trying to place where he'd seen me. Have we met? He asked finally. I don't believe so, I said smoothly. Though I attended your wedding 6 months ago. Beautiful ceremony. The room went very quiet. Charles looked between Blake and me. You attended Blake's wedding? Yes. I'm Claire's younger sister. The silence was absolute. Blake's face went pale. His mother, sitting beside him, gripped the armrest of her chair. Charles's expression shifted from professional courtesy to shock. You're Claire's sister, Charles said slowly. The one who works in tech. The one who founded and runs this company, yes, I said. Though I imagine Claire described it as works in tech. That's technically accurate. But Blake started then stopped. You were told I worked some generic computer job, I finished. That I was struggling. That I wasn't particularly successful. Yes, I'm aware of how my family describes me to others. Charles was staring at me intently now. Claire never mentioned her sister was a CEO. Never mentioned her sister was on the Fortune cover. Never mentioned her sister revolutionized supply chain AI. Claire doesn't know, I said simply. My family doesn't know. They've never asked about my work. They've decided who I am without bothering to verify. Blake's mother, I'd learned her name was Patricia, spoke up. But surely at the wedding, someone must have mentioned. I was seated at the back, I said. Never introduced to your family. I was just Claire's younger sister who does something with computers. Not worth mentioning, apparently. Oh my God, Blake whispered. Christmas. The text from your dad. You weren't invited because. He stopped, realizing what he'd just said. I smiled pleasantly. Because your family is elite, and mine didn't want you asking awkward questions about my situation. Yes, I'm aware. My father texted me 2 days ago to uninvite me from family Christmas. Charles's face had gone from shock to something that might have been anger. Because we're executives? Because we're supposedly elite? They excluded you to avoid embarrassment in front of us. That's the message I received, yes. But Charles gestured around the conference room at the presentation materials at me. You're more successful than anyone in my company. You built a $620 million company from nothing. You're on the Fortune cover. You're revolutionizing an entire industry. Yes, I agreed calmly. But my family doesn't know that. And now we have a decision to make. What decision? Charles asked. Whether this partnership makes strategic sense regardless of family connections, I said. Whether we can maintain professional boundaries separate from personal complications. Whether you can work with the woman your daughter-in-law's family finds too embarrassing for Christmas dinner. I opened my portfolio, all business now. So, Mr. Harrington, shall we discuss how SupplyWise AI can optimize Harrington Industries' supply chain operations? Or would you prefer to process the family dynamics first? Charles Harrington stared at me for a long moment. Then he started laughing. Not polite laughter. Deep, genuine laughter that bent him forward in his chair. I'm sorry, he said, still laughing. I'm sorry, Ms. Morrison, but this is the most absurd situation I've encountered in 30 years of business. Absurd how? I asked. We spent 3 months researching SupplyWise AI. Reading every article about you. Analyzing your technology. Preparing to meet the brilliant, mysterious CEO everyone's talking about. And the entire time you were my daughter-in-law's sister. The one they've been treating like a charity case. He shook his head, still smiling. Blake, your wife's family uninvited this woman from Christmas because they were worried we'd think they weren't impressive enough. Do you understand how backwards that is? Blake looked miserable. I had no idea. Claire never mentioned she said her sister worked in tech, but not this. Because she doesn't know, I said. Because nobody in my family has ever asked what I actually do. Patricia spoke up, her voice careful. Ms. Morrison, I apologize on behalf of my family. If Blake had known, we would never have allowed your family to exclude you on our account. You have nothing to apologize for, I said. You didn't exclude me. My family did. You're not responsible for their assumptions about me. But they made those assumptions based on trying to impress us, Patricia said. They thought we were elite, and you weren't. When the reality is, She gestured around the office. You're more accomplished than all of us combined. Success isn't a competition, Mrs. Harrington, I said. Your family built a $4 billion company over generations. That's impressive. I built a $620 million company in 3 years. That's different, not better. The problem isn't who's more successful. The problem is my family treating success as a reason to exclude people. Charles pulled out his phone. I'm calling our legal team. We're signing this partnership today. Not because of family connections, but because your AI is exactly what we need. However, he looked at me seriously. I'm also going to have a conversation with your father about how his family treats you. That's not necessary, I said. It absolutely is, Charles said firmly. We're about to become business partners. That makes you part of my professional family. And I don't tolerate people mistreating my partners. Mr. Harrington, with respect, I've spent years not needing my family's validation. I don't need yours either. What I need is a partnership based on business value, not family politics. You'll have both, Charles said. The partnership because your AI is revolutionary. The family support because it's the right thing to do. We spent the next 3 hours reviewing the partnership details. Integration timelines, implementation phases, expected ROI, technical specifications. My team was brilliant. Lisa explaining the AI architecture, David walking through financial projections, Michael outlining the strategic roadmap. The Harrington team was impressed. Even Blake, despite his obvious discomfort with the family situation, asked intelligent questions about supply chain optimization. Around noon we broke for lunch. Charles pulled me aside. Ms. Morrison, Jade, can we speak privately? We stepped into my office. He looked around, taking in the space. Floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture, the Fortune cover framed on the wall. Awards from industry associations. Photos with other CEOs and tech leaders. This is quite an achievement, he said quietly. Building all this by 30 years old. 29 actually, I corrected. I turn 30 next month. Even more impressive. He paused. I need to tell you something. Not as a business partner but as Blake's father. I'm horrified. Truly horrified. If I'd known, if any of us had known, that you were Claire's sister, that you'd built this company, that you were being treated this way by your own family. You would have what? I asked. Insisted they include me in Christmas? Made it awkward for everyone. I would have made sure Blake knew to treat you with the respect you deserve, Charles said. I would have insisted we meet you properly, build a relationship with you. Your family now, whether your parents acknowledge it or not. I'm your daughter-in-law's sister, I said. That's pretty distant family-wise. Not to me, Charles said firmly. My family believes in loyalty, Ms. Morrison. We protect our own. And if you're willing, I'd like to include you in that circle. I studied him. He seemed genuine. Not trying to impress me, not trying to manipulate. Just a man who'd built a family business and valued family loyalty. I appreciate that, I said. But Mr. Harrington, Charles, I need this partnership to be about business. If it becomes about family politics, it gets complicated. Agreed, he said. Business first. But that doesn't mean we can't also treat you like family. Which includes not tolerating anyone, even your parents, treating you as less than you are. The partnership documents were signed by 4 p.m. Harrington Industries would implement SupplyWise AI across their entire supply chain network. A $47 million contract over 3 years with options for expansion. It was one of the largest deals in my company's history. As the Harrington team was leaving, Blake approached me hesitantly. Jade, I need to apologize. I should have asked about you. Should have made Claire talk about her family more. Should have insisted we meet you properly. You didn't know what you didn't know, I said. That's not an excuse. You're my wife's sister. That should have mattered. Instead, I just accepted Claire's vague descriptions and never pushed for details. Blake, this isn't your fault. This is between me and my family. But I'm family now too, he said. And I don't like that my being part of your family was used as a reason to exclude you. That's backwards and wrong. What are you going to tell Claire? I asked. The truth. That I met with your company today. That you're the CEO. That you built something incredible. And that her family has been catastrophically wrong about you. She's going to call me, I predicted. Probably within an hour of me getting home. Blake agreed. Are you ready for that? I've been ready for 3 years, I said. The question is whether she's ready to see me as I actually am instead of who she's decided I am. Blake was right. My phone rang at 6:37 p.m. Jade, what the fuck? Hi Claire. How was your day? Don't give me that. Blake just got home and told me he spent the day at your company. Your company. The Urzio. That you're on the Fortune cover. That Harrington Industries just signed a $47 million partnership with you. Is this true? Yes. And you never told us? Never mentioned you owned a company? That you were successful? Would you have believed me? I asked. If I'd told you 3 years ago I was founding a supply chain AI company, what would you have said? She was quiet for a moment. I don't know. But we wouldn't have excluded me from family Christmas because the Harringtons are too elite for me to be around? I finished. Yes, you would have. Because you'd already decided who I was, Claire. The unsuccessful younger sister who never figured out her path. The one who embarrassed you with her lack of impressive achievements. That's not fair. Isn't it? Dad texted me Friday. Said Christmas is family only, but I couldn't come because your in-laws are executives and they don't want awkward questions about my situation. My situation, Claire. Like I'm some charity case you need to hide. We didn't mean. Yes, you did. You meant exactly that. And it's fine. I built my company while you were focusing on impressing the Harringtons. I built something worth $620 million while you were worried about whether I'd embarrass you at family dinners. Jade, I'm sorry. Are you? I asked. Are you sorry you treated me like I was less than? Or are you sorry you got caught? Sorry that your in-laws now know your family excluded me even though I'm more successful than anyone at their company. He started crying. I didn't know. We didn't know. No, you didn't. Because you never asked. In 3 years, Claire, you've never once asked what I actually do. You've told me about the gallery, about Blake, about your life with the Harringtons. But you've never asked about mine. Because we thought you were struggling. We didn't want to make you feel worse by talking about our success. I wasn't struggling. I was building something extraordinary. But you were too busy being Claire Harrington, wife of Blake Harrington, daughter-in-law to the prestigious Harringtons, to notice your sister was changing an entire industry. There was a long silence on the other end. Charles called Dad, Claire said finally. About an hour ago. Blake said it didn't go well. What happened? Charles told Dad that excluding you from Christmas was unconscionable, and that if they ever treated you that way again, the Harringtons would sever all social ties with our family. He said you're more accomplished than anyone in either family and that you deserve respect. I closed my eyes. I told him not to do that. Dad is freaking out. He's been calling me nonstop. He wants your office address, wants to come apologize, wants to fix this. It's not fixable with one apology, Claire. I know. But Jade, can we try? Can we try to be actual sisters instead of whatever we've been? I looked out my office windows at the city below. My city. The one I'd conquered while my family dismissed me. I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know if we can get past years of you treating me like I was less than. Of you letting Dad exclude me from family Christmas because I wasn't impressive enough for your in-laws. I understand. But I want to try. We want to try. We'll see, I said. And hung up. The next morning my assistant buzzed. Ms. Morrison, there's a Mr. and Mrs. Morrison in the lobby. They say they're your parents. No appointment. I sighed. Of course they came. Send them up. Conference room B. Mom and Dad entered looking nervous, out of place. They dressed up. Dad in a suit, Mom in a dress. Like they were meeting someone important instead of their own daughter. Jade, Dad said. We need to talk. Sit down, I said. They sat. I remained standing, arms crossed. Charles Harrington called me yesterday, Dad said. He said he told me you're a CEO. That your company is worth over $500 million. That you're on the Fortune cover. All true, I confirmed. Why didn't you tell us? Mom asked. Why let us think you were struggling? I finished. Unsuccessful? An embarrassment? Because you'd already decided that's who I was, Mom. You didn't want to know what I actually did. You wanted me to be the unsuccessful daughter so Claire could be the successful one. That's not true, Dad protested. Really? Then explain the text you sent Friday. The one that said I couldn't come to Christmas because Claire's in-laws are executives and you can't have me there. Dad looked at the floor. Charles was very clear about how he felt about that. I told Charles not to call you. This isn't his fight. Maybe it should be, Mom said quietly. Maybe it took your business partner, your sister's father-in-law, to make us see what we've been doing to you. And what have you been doing? I asked. Making you invisible, Dad said. Treating you like you don't matter. Excluding you from family events because we were ashamed of what we thought was your lack of success. When the whole time, Mom continued, you were building something we can't even comprehend. Something more successful than anything our family has ever achieved. Success isn't the point, I said. The point is you excluded me based on assumptions you never verified. You decided who I was and never bothered to ask if you were right. How do we fix this? Dad asked. I don't know if you can, I said honestly. You can't undo years of making me feel like I wasn't good enough. Can't erase uninviting me from family Christmas. Can't take back every time you compared me unfavorably to Claire and found me lacking. But we want to try, Mom said. We want to know you. Really know you. The daughter we've been too blind to see. Why? I asked. Because Charles Harrington told you to? Because you're embarrassed that Claire's in-laws know you excluded me? Or because you actually regret treating me as less than? All of it, Dad admitted. We're embarrassed. Charles made it clear the Harringtons think we're terrible parents. But mostly we're devastated that we have a brilliant daughter who built something extraordinary, and we know nothing about her life. I looked at them, my parents who'd spent years dismissing me, now desperate to repair damage they just realized existed. I'll think about it, I said. But understand something. If we rebuild this relationship, it's not because I need your validation. I built this company without your support. I achieved everything without your approval. If we have a relationship going forward, it's because you're willing to actually see me. Not the successful CEO. Me. Your daughter. Who's been here all along. We're willing, Mom said. We want to see you. We'll see if that's true, I said. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a company to run. Christmas arrived. I spent it in Aspen with my executive team, a company retreat we'd planned months ago. Skiing strategy sessions celebrating a record-breaking year. My phone was full of messages. Claire, please come to Christmas. The Harringtons are asking about you. Charles wants you here. Mom, we're not celebrating without you. Please. Dad, I'm sorry. We're all sorry. Come home. I didn't respond to any of them. On Christmas evening, as I sat by the fire in our rented lodge, my phone rang. Charles Harrington. Merry Christmas, Jade. Merry Christmas, Charles. I hope you're not spending it alone. I'm with my team. We're having a wonderful time. Good. That's good. He paused. Your family is here. At our house. Claire insisted we invite them even though you're not here. That's kind of you. They're miserable. Your sister is crying. Your parents look like they've lost something precious. And honestly, they have. They lost you through their own short-sightedness. Charles, you don't need to fight my battles. I'm not fighting your battles, Jade. I'm protecting my business partner. And more than that, I like you. You're brilliant, principled, and you've built something remarkable without compromising your integrity. That's rare. So if your family wants a relationship with you, they need to earn it. Not because of who you are, but because of who they should have been all along. Thank you, I said quietly. One more thing. Patricia and I would like to host you for dinner. Just us, Blake and Claire, if you're willing. Not a reconciliation, just a chance for us to get to know you properly. As family. The family you should have had. I'd like that, I said. Good. Merry Christmas, Jade. You deserve so much better than you've gotten. After we hung up, I sat looking at the fire. Michael approached with champagne. Boss, we're toasting to the year. You coming? Yeah, I said, standing. I'm coming. Because this, my team, the company we'd built, the success we'd achieved together. This was my real family. The one I'd chosen. The one that chose me back. And that was worth more than any Christmas dinner with people who'd spent years not seeing me.